Hello and welcome to my presentation. You probably know me by now. My name is Michael and I'm based at Maynooth University where I'm working on a PhD on hacktivism, and more specifically on web defacements. This talk is going to give you a brief overview of what I do, how it relates to web archiving, and how web archiving and internet historiography can support each other. I'm going to start by introducing the concept of web defacements, then give you an overview of their ideological roots and their archival status. So what are web defacements? Web defacements are hacked websites where the original site has been replaced or modified by the attacker. Hackers might do this for a number of reasons, but the two main motivations behind it are to build a reputation within the scene or to send out a message. The picture on the right here is a 1997 defacement of the NASA homepage and shows some of the motivation usually found in defacements of that time. This defacement is also a case where the message correlates with the defaced page. Generally, there are two reasons why defacers would attack a specific page. It might be unrelated to the message, and the page might simply be an easy target, or the targeted page might be in relation to the message as seen here. Again, if you have any questions or comments, don't forget to put them in the chat, and I'll try my very best to answer them at the end. Framing political expression in web defacements. There are all kinds of messages to be found in defacements. Most are simple claims of authorship, such as hacked by. What I'm interested in are defacements that in the broadest sense are used for political expression. There is a greater set of activism that happens online. Within that is a smaller subset of hacking for political purposes. Leaking sensitive documents can fall under this. An even smaller subset then are web defacements. This framework is important to understand defacements' ideological history. Web defacements also have their offline counterparts in things such as ad busting or graffitis. To add to this definition of web defacements are also defined on an axis of transgression. I was referring to the ideological history and offline counterparts because just like those offline activities, web defacements occupy a middle ground in militancy. What I classify as political web defacements is more transgressive than online protests and discussions, yet less than cyber terrorism. There isn't always a clear distinction, but the guideline is that defacers hack and gain unauthorized access to the system, but not with the intent to cause serious damage. How to frame web defacements. The role of transgression in web defacements is not a value in itself, but transgression is seen as a potential to create alternate realities. In this context, there are multiple ways to frame and understand web defacements, some of which are listed here. As a practice, web defacements are closely related to situationist practices, where they break the viewer's expectations. From a digital forensics perspective, defacements are pieces of antagonistic writing of electronic text, where one text literally overwrites the other. Hacks and web defacements can also be seen as the expression of the belief that technology can be used in a better way than it currently is, or simply as virtual graffitis left behind for various reasons. Most important for the context of this conference is that web defacements are also a part of online history that can enhance our understanding of a website. Why should we care about this resource? Whatever perspective you employ, defacements are evidence of struggle and conflict that took place on the web. While it is easy to write something on the internet, it is hard to be heard. Defacements are no different, and that they compete for the limited resource of attention. The screenshot here was the hack of a WikiLeaks site. The attacker states at the top that he is not opposed to the cause of WikiLeaks, but apparently could not resist the reach the domain provided for this message. How are defacements archived? Obviously, most people do not want their websites defaced with whatever message. So usually defaced pages are quickly restored and the chance of finding them in larger collections is very low. Luckily, defaces themselves often submit hacked pages to so-called cybercrime archives, where they are then stored. This happens mostly to either build a reputation as a capable hacker or because people are interested in cybersecurity and want to document attacks. That being said, these collections are hardly usable for academic research as they are now because of a lack of metadata. There are ethical considerations here too that I'm happy to talk more about during the Q&A. For now, let's just say the two major ethical considerations are that consent cannot always be assumed and there is usually no way to contact the Office of Defacements. Collection status. This list here shows 11 cybercrime archives, some of which I have used for my own research, others I have collected from older papers. All the collections at the bottom are offline, and as far as I know, they're lost. The middle section are archives which have stopped accepting new material and have not had updates for years. Only one archive still accepts defacements, but it does not allow crawlers, it has no metadata, and it is very restrictive in terms of access. You can see from this how poor the archival status is, and that it is only a matter of time before the rest of the material will be lost. How can these collections be turned into research archives? In the light of this, what can be done to turn these collections, that are really just big file dumps, into usable archives? I've sketched out here a three-part strategy. Some parts of this work I have already done with some of the archives wherever it is possible for me. The first step is to do a crawl and to archive what we can, to simply get your hands on material before it is gone. The material must then be enriched with metadata, so that topics in defacements, campaigns, and information on the attacker become available. Finally, the defaced page should be contextualized with the original, so that a researcher can see the target before and after the defacement. That way, defacements can be used to enhance the understanding of web history and can be turned from a cybercrime to a cyber resource. That concludes my presentation. I hope it gave you a little insight into what my research is and how web defacements can be a valuable resource in web history. I'll try my very best to answer any questions you may have. Please post them in the chat. For now, thank you very much for your attention and enjoy the rest of the conference.